Okay, let's get right into it. For the last few years, all the noise in digital assets has been around crypto and DeFi. But behind the curtain, something much, much bigger is happening. We're talking about a fundamental upgrade to the core plumbing of global finance. This is the institutional story of tokenization and unified ledgers, and believe me, it's the next great leap for the entire financial system.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to unpack what this next leap really is. Then, we'll look at the current system and all the friction that makes it so clunky. After that, we'll dive into the blueprint for the fix, the unified ledger. We'll see how it's being put to the test right now, and finally, we'll connect the dots to what it means for markets.
All right, part 1, the next evolutionary leap. To really get where we're going, you have to see this not as some crazy disruption, but as the next logical step in a very long story. The story of how we've always tracked money and assets.
At the very heart of this is a concept called tokenization. So what does that actually mean? Well, think of it as taking a claim, say your ownership of a stock, and creating a digital version of it. But here's the magic trick. It's not just a digital record. It actually bundles the rules for how that stock can be bought or sold right into the token itself. It becomes a smart, programmable object.
And you can see how it fits into the grand scheme of things here. I mean, we went from paper ledgers to digital databases. That was called dematerialization. It's why you have an online bank account instead of a passbook. Tokenization is simply the next phase. It's making those digital records intelligent.
So why do we even need this leap? Well, to get that, we have to look at the creaky old plumbing of today's financial system. The truth is, it's inefficient, it's slow, and just patching it up isn't going to work anymore. It's time for a rethink.
This slide lays it out perfectly. Today, everything is in separate, walled-off databases. Your bank's ledger, my bank's ledger, the stock exchange's ledger, they don't talk to each other directly. So to send money, they have to send messages back and forth, check the books, and then, days later, the money actually settles. It's a mess. A tokenized system, on the other hand, puts everything on one shared platform. The messaging and the settlement become one single event. It's called atomic settlement. It means the trade either happens instantly and perfectly, or it doesn't happen at all. No more waiting.
The Bank for International Settlements, one of the key institutions driving this, uses this famous quote. And it's for a very good reason. Trying to just speed up the old system is like trying to breed faster horses. What tokenization and unified ledgers represent is the invention of the automobile. It's a whole new architecture.
So, if the old way is the horse and buggy, what's the new car look like? Well, that brings us to the blueprint being put forward by the world's major financial institutions, the unified ledger. This is their vision for a completely new foundation for finance.
So what's under the hood? It's really built on 3 core layers. At the very bottom, the bedrock, you have a wholesale central bank digital currency. Think of this as the ultimate risk-free settlement asset. It's the source of trust. Then, on top of that, you have tokenized commercial bank deposits. That's the money you and I and businesses actually use. And finally, you have tokenized assets, stocks, bonds, real estate, you name it.
And this is the concept in a picture. It's one single programmable platform where all these different types of money and assets can exist and interact with each other seamlessly. When everything is in the same venue, speaking the same language, you can start to automate things and create financial products that are just impossible in today's fragmented world.
Now, it is absolutely crucial to understand what this isn't. We are not talking about public blockchains like Bitcoin here. As Umar Farouk from JP Morgan puts it, for serious large-scale finance, you need to know who you're dealing with. You need accountability. You need a permission system with rules. That's exactly what the unified ledger is designed to be.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But it's not just a white paper. Let's look at how this blueprint is actually starting to become a reality through a massive global initiative called Project Agora.
And the scale here is just staggering. This is not some small academic exercise. We are talking about 7 of the most powerful central banks in the world, including the New York Fed, the Bank of England, the Bank of Japan, basically the issuers of the world's most important currencies.
And it's not just the central bankers in a room by themselves. They've pulled in over 40 of the biggest names in private finance, major global banks and market players. This is a massive public-private partnership. When you see this level of collaboration, you know the industry sees this as the future.
So what are they trying to accomplish? Well, they're taking those key ingredients, the tokenized deposits and the central bank money, and putting them on a unified ledger test platform. The number one goal is to fix one of the biggest headaches in finance, cross-border payments. They want to make them instant and cheap using that atomic settlement we talked about. And then they want to explore cool new things, like payments that only go through if certain conditions are met automatically.
Okay, let's bring this all back to earth. What does this technology actually mean for the markets? What about regulation? What are the risks? And what does the road ahead look like? This is where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah, this whole shift is not happening in a vacuum. Regulators around the world have woken up. You can see from this timeline how things have accelerated. It went from a reactive, what is this Bitcoin thing approach, to a much more proactive, coordinated global effort to build a regulatory framework for digital assets.
And that regulation is getting very, very specific. Take a look at this example of what a new law could look like. The whole point is to bring things like stablecoins into the fold of the traditional financial system. You'll have clear rules on what backs them, safe things like T-bills, and you'll have mandatory audits and transparency. They're trying to make them less like wildcat tech experiments and more like boring, regulated financial products.
Now, rules like that have immediate, real-world market impacts. You instantly create winners and losers. First, you get a huge structural new demand for safe assets like US T-bills. At the same time, you put enormous pressure on the less transparent issuers out there, while giving a massive advantage to the players who are already playing by the rules and are fully regulated.
But even with all these rules, there is one big risk that keeps regulators up at night. Imagine a huge, fully regulated stablecoin faces a crisis of confidence, a run. Even if it has all the T-bills it's supposed to have, it would be forced to sell them all at once into the market. A fire sale of that magnitude could cause serious stress in the very money markets that are the bedrock of the financial system. That's the systemic risk they're trying to solve for.
Which really brings us to the single biggest question hanging over all of this. As this new, top-down, institutional financial infrastructure gets built, will it end up just absorbing the useful innovations from the crypto world, or will it make the entire permissionless, decentralized world of DeFi totally obsolete? That is the fundamental tension that's going to define the next decade of finance.
This is not financial advice.